Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to 83 Weeks with the Hall of Famer Eric Bischoff. And Eric is on location today in Las Vegas, just one day before WWE presents WrestleMania 41. But tonight is the Hall of Fame. And Eric, you've been making a trip of it in Las Vegas. What all have you been up to out there?
Well, Lori and I got in Wednesday night, went out, had a nice dinner on a nice traditional sushi bar just outside of town. Pretty cool. And then last night, Thursday night, we went to the last match. It's a live rock and roll wrestling musical. And it was so cool. I went in, it was just intriguing enough. I got the invitation. It was a red carpet thing. And I normally wouldn't think too much about attending something like that. But I'm looking at it in the description of what the event was. I thought, wow, rock and roll musical wrestling story. I've got to see that. So I was thinking about going, and then of course WrestleMania, Hall of Fame, Lex, and all that happened. It was like, okay, that's a sign. I'm going. And I had Lori and I both, we had so much fun at this. It was essentially a showcase for the producers and obviously the actors and actresses. It was a showcase for, I'm guessing, investors or other people interested in that business. And what a great job they did. I was so impressed. And their business model, what their goals are. We talked a little bit about that. And it's just fascinating, man. Had a blast.
Everybody seems to be having a blast in Las Vegas, and we hope you guys are as well. Thank you for joining us here. We're going to be talking about all things WrestleMania and the incredible news that keeps piling on because WWE is doing a full court media blitz. And we want to thank our media partners in the market there. Big thanks to our friend Mark Hoke, who is the host of the Mark Hoke Show. It's Las Vegas's #1 wrestling radio show. And we're actually using their studio right now. Be sure to hear him locally on 101.5 KDON Studios is who we need to thank for the hookup here today. Eric, this is unique for you. Normally doing it in the home studio or, some sort of mobile kit in an Airbnb at the beach somewhere, but here you are in a real deal radio station. When was the last time you were in a radio station?
Oh, I don't know. It's been a couple years. The last time I would have been out doing anything promotion wise. So maybe when Jason and I were still, actively producing and promoting shows, uh, probably 10 years. But I gotta tell you, I feeling much more professional. I mean, with the cans on, and it just looks like like I'm a real radio guy. I feel a sense of additional responsibility. It's a load, but I'll carry it.
Well, we're hoping that you're going to be carrying us for a good show here today. We are going to be taking your questions. This is indeed live. It's 12:36 here in Alabama. It's 10:36 in Las Vegas. And we are on the final countdown for the go home show for SmackDown. And then this is going to be a late night for you. I think the Hall of Fame starts at like 1 in the morning Eastern time or something like that, Eric. How are you going to adjust? I think you're usually early to bed, early to rise, but you're staying up late tonight for Lex Luger, aren't you?
Yes, but I don't know how I'm gonna do it. To be really honest with you, there's certain things I commit to doing, as we were talking about before you joined us, and I don't think through the ramifications of that, but I'm going to be there. I just don't know how. I may have to force myself to take a nap, like, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, or forcibly readjust my circadian rhythm, because this body clock punches out at 8 p.m. no matter what. Now, I did make an exception last night. Lori and I were actually made it back to the hotel, and we were in bed at 9:27. That's a stretch for me. That's almost an hour and a half. Changes everything. Tonight, we're going to be lucky to get back to the hotel at 2. I don't know how I'm going to do it.
You're going to need power naps. I think that's the only way through this. Some power
Something.
naps. Hey, speaking of power, a lot of power has left New Japan. I guess later today, as I think they're way ahead of us. The 19th is Jeff Cobb's last match in New Japan, and he's leaving. And there's lots of speculation that he's headed straight to WWE. Now, of course, we don't know what that means. Is that Raw? Is that SmackDown? Is that NXT? Does he debut on the Monday after WrestleMania? Are we going to see his impact and his involvement on the Sunday edition of WrestleMania? The only thing that Dave Meltzer has said is he is not Randy Orton's opponent for WrestleMania. What do you make of this opportunity to see Jeff Cobb really getting his first chance with WWE? I think he did a tryout back in 2014, so like 11 years ago with the PC, and now he's coming in. I mean, in a different timeline, he would have been quote unquote too old for WWE. I, for one, am glad to see we get to see him try his hand in WWE. What do you expect?
I have no expectation because until this very moment, I didn't know who he was. I just don't follow it. But I'm interested. Of course, he got a great look. He looks pretty vicious. He's got a unique enough look. Yeah, I'm excited, but I had zero idea who he is. Tell me about him. What's he compare him to somebody that I might know?
He's a former amateur wrestler, and he's really made his nut in New Japan. But a lot of people recognize him from Lucha Underground, from Ring of Honor, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, but just a ton of success in amateur wrestling. I mean, he even represented Guam in the 2004 Olympics. So he was like the nation's flag bearer in the opening ceremony.
Well, now I'm really going to have to support him. If he's an amateur wrestler, an elite level amateur wrestler, dude, I'll be promoting the hell out of him wherever he goes.
Yeah, I think his style and credibility is something you would be interested in. But everybody is already talking about that Monday after WrestleMania. But before we get there, I guess we should mention a little post that John Cena made on social media. I thought this was interesting. His Instagram post here, Eric. Stone Cold, see you Sunday. And you see the meme of Stone Cold with the folded hands there, but where his head has now been replaced with the top of Allegiant Stadium. I think that's kind of fun that there's been lots of speculation. Will the glass break? Will we see John Cena and The Rock and Cody Rhodes and Stone Cold share the ring together? But for John Cena to tweet that out, see you Sunday, Stone Cold, that's kind of fun, isn't it?
It's just awesome. It's, what a nice finishing touch on the promotion. I mean, as you're getting, we're hours away now, I guess, if you want to start calculating them that way. You're hours away, and they're putting out this kind of really cool, off the wall, but creative promotional stuff. I think it's great. It's fun to watch.
It's been fun to watch all the WWE media too. It feels like they've done media with every possible platform. I mean, it's maybe the biggest media blitz I've ever seen. I do want to get your reaction to a few things that have got people chipping and chirping on social media. Triple H did the Andrew Schultz podcast and said something like, the internet is not real life, and the bitching and fucking complaining that is on there is not real life. You could read the internet and it'll sound like this thing is dead. And I'll use Cody as the example. Cody's already jumped the shark. Cody is dead as a babyface. Really? Because I don't know. I'm in an arena with 10,000, 15,000 people going apeshit for him. He's selling the most merchandise. Whatever you want to say on the internet is the golden rule. So the beautiful thing for our business, unlike a movie or a TV show or even a book or anything else, is that we have a focus group every single night. What do you make of this quote from Triple H? And is it a good look the week of WrestleMania for that sort of chatter to be out there?
Well, I don't know if it's a good look or not, but maybe by the end of this discussion, I'll feel differently, but absolutely did a great job articulating that. Just a reminder. And it, we're talking about wrestling, obviously, and the internet's impact on wrestling culture. But the same thing applies, I think, to just about any other aspect of life that people get online and talk about. Because it's just generally, it's like it's got its own weird algorithm. People say things not so much because they believe them or necessarily agree with them, but they know it's going to stir the pot and they'll get reactions. People are addicted to the dopamine hit. That's why so much of the chatter on the internet it's like a volleyball game with hand grenades. It's ridiculous. And again, it's not just wrestling. It's everything. And to me, that's representative of real life. It's a section of it. But to Triple H's point, I don't think it's a representative of the entire culture or the country. You just have to look at it for what it is and keep in mind what it isn't, which is mainstream opinion, because it's not.
I do find it interesting, the way some of this media has come across this week, because I felt like one of the secrets of WWE's success, because I think we all agree, they've really turned the corner creatively, and it feels like they just continue to gain more and more momentum with the leadership change. Said differently, with Vince out of the way, it feels like the narrative online has been much warmer to WWE creative. Would you agree with that? That the reception is warmer in the absence of Vince?
What is this saying? Correlated but not corroborated, or something like that. Yeah. I mean, those two things are true. Creative is getting more praise, and Vince McMahon has been gone, and that kind of their timeline is connected in a way. But I think they're getting the praise because the creative is good.
I'm not arguing that, but I guess what I was getting to is I feel like I've seen a lot of people inside the tent of WWE, specifically wrestlers, say something along the lines of, well, it's just such a better place to work now.
Mm.
Oh, I'm not dictated to as much. Now I'm given bullet points. It's more collaborative. Like, we've heard a lot of that sort of speak from the wrestlers as far as, oh, we much prefer it now. It's going to be better now. We're happier now. And I know this is a bit of a stretch, but I'm a business guy and you are too, Eric. And about 15 years ago, maybe more at this point, Domino's had a pretty effective campaign. I'm talking about the pizza company here in America, where they basically went on TV and said, hey, our pizza used to suck. It tasted like flavorless cardboard. But now we've changed all that. We're using better cheese. We're doing this. We're doing that. So they almost did what I might call a, hey, sorry, we sucked campaign, but we're better now. And it worked fabulously. And I feel like maybe some of this media this week hasn't been as consistent as that messaging. I just wanted to take your temperature on, do you see the parallels of the Domino's campaign? Because people credit that campaign with being the thing that really turned around Domino's. They were a franchise that was on the way down, and now they're seemingly on the way up. And a lot of people say that was the fork in the road. That was the shift. And I felt similar vibes with WWE in the way they've been presented. Like, hey, we know that was bad, but now look at us now. It's much better now. It feels like we're maybe moving away from that a little bit on this press junket this week. What say you?
That's really fascinating, and especially the way you laid it out. It wouldn't have impressed me that way at all, but I see the point. I guess what I'm struggling with is if we step back and look at WWE's business over the past 7 years. Unlike Domino's, who I think in your example was probably on the downswing, therefore this campaign turned it around. I don't think during a 7-year window leading up to today, you could look at WWE and say, wow, their business is really down. They had to turn it around from a consumer facing perspective, meaning, yeah, the talent knew that things were frustrating. Yes, the rumor mill and the Internet Wrestling Committee all knew that, things were haphazard backstage and Vince could be bombastic at times and you never know. I mean, we all knew that backstage chatter, but it wasn't reflected financially or in terms of ratings. So that's where the parallel is a disconnect for me, but I do understand your point.
Well, we appreciate you guys being here live. We are getting these questions coming in. We're going to get to a few of those. But before we do, I want to give you a little pro tip about one of my favorite sponsors. I'm talking about Rocket Money. It's a personal financial app that will help find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, even monitor your spending, and help you lower your bills so you can grow your savings. You see, with Rocket Money, you'll see all of your subscriptions in one place, and then you'll know exactly where your money is going. And for the ones you don't want anymore, well, Rocket Money can help you cancel them. The dashboard on Rocket Money will give you a clear view of your expenses across all of your different accounts. They'll even help you create a personalized budget so you can keep your spending on track with custom categories. You'll see where your monthly spending trends are, so you'll know exactly where and when it's going. You can even get alerts if your bills increase in price, or maybe there's unusual spending activity, or if you're getting close to going over your budget. Did I mention they've got a new goals feature? It'll actually help you automatically save money. You can use that to pay off your credit card debt, or pay to save money for a down payment for a house, or just start building your savings. Whatever your goals are, Rocket Money makes it easy. They'll even help try to negotiate your lower bills for you. Rocket Money automatically scans your bills, finds opportunities to save, and then they ask to negotiate on your behalf, meaning they'll even deal with customer service so you don't have to. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved over 500,000 in canceled subscriptions. I'm sorry, 500 million. Think about that. $500 million in canceled subscriptions. That saves over $740 a year when members use all of the app's premium features. So go cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go right now to rocketmoney.com/83weeks today. That's rocketmoney.com/83weeks, rocketmoney.com/83weeks. So listen, Eric, we got a bunch of questions coming in, and I want to hit some of these. Let's start with Swerve Daddy. He says, Triple H is saying any fool can run a wrestling company in the red. And I saw that the IWC was up in arms saying that he was taking a shot at Tony. Do you think it was, or was he actually explaining how difficult it really is? What do you think on this? Is this a veiled shot at AEW, or is he just pointing out that, hey, very few wrestling companies are actually profitable? This is not easy to do.
Yeah, I think that's because Triple H is pretty good at taking veiled shots. I mean, he's smooth, and I think he enjoys it. It's a little bit of it's a way to work somebody a little bit and have fun doing it. I've seen him do that before, but I would really have to hear the context of the whole question and the answer to come even close to whether it is or isn't. But I would say probably, if he could make a point and have a little fun in the process, I think he's inclined to do that.
Nonsense McGee is with us, and he's saying he's been in Vegas for 24 hours and hasn't had a drink yet. That's got to be a record. What about you? Have you hit the Betty Boop bar or any of your favorite watering holes yet?
No, we didn't go to the Betty Boop bar, but I did. It was a cocktail reception, and I did imbibe last night. I had a couple cocktails, but that was it.
AOTV Productions says Russo has once again criticized WWE, saying everything they do now is for a money grab. They're not sincere, and McMahon wouldn't have been like this. Thoughts? Of course, the example he's giving is every match has a sponsor, every segment has a sponsor. You know, they're selling ad space on the actual canvas of the ring. The sponsorship dollars are much different now than they were during the Vince McMahon era. He did feel like he had a vision for WWE and some no-fly zones, if you will. That is no longer the case. It feels like if we could squeeze a nickel out, we will. What do you make of Russo's assertion here?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it's such a silly thing to say that everything WWE is doing now is a money grab. They're in business. Actually, Vince Russo, they're a publicly held corporation. You know what the fiduciary responsibilities are of executives in a publicly held corporation? Like, you're the only reason you have a corporate pulse is to return revenue to investors and to maximize it. That's law. So to say everything they're doing is for a money grab, fucking brilliant. Brilliant. But it does, if you want to have a reasonable argument, it begs the question, is it being over monetized to the point where it's distracting from the product? Because that's the only thing that matters, right? if the money's coming in and it's distracting from the product and you have some evidence of that, or even if it's just an indication over a period of time that could be the case, then you make a judgment. Is it worth it? Or is it better to maintain, certain parameters and not when it comes to sponsorship for the integrity of the product and the brand? It's a valuation. You got to figure it out. My guess is people are so used to it, it's almost weird if you don't have it. It's like if I was launching a company, I might suggest I have I might just give people free advertising just so I can say, advertise on this show. I mean, you want to look like a destination in a valuable asset, right? It's a perception. It's building your brand. So I think it's smart, and it's beyond that. It's inevitable because that's what entertainment is, a money grab.
If you've got questions for Eric, be sure to keep them coming. I do want to bring a few more of these quotes from the media tour this week. Speaking to Bill Simmons on the Bill Simmons podcast, WWE President Nick Khan was asked about acquiring too much talent and not all of them being utilized properly. And Nick said, "That's something we won't do. We won't sign and bench people. We sign people who we want to use. If another entity signs and benches people now, that's not something we would do." And Simmons says, "That's a thing that happens." And Nick replied, "That's what I've been told from time to time, not us." Now, of course, Sean Ross Sapp and others were quick to point out, "I don't know about that. What about Natalia? Felt like they worked pretty hard to re-sign her and haven't used her in months. And maybe the idea behind signing her was we didn't want her to go win the Owen Hart Cup and tournament or something in AEW. But meanwhile, she wasn't used." Almost sort of the same thing. It felt like he was slated to be used in a bigger spot. We even saw him do a tour of duty in Noah, and that seemingly was well received, but he's not wrestling. I mean, there's no doubting that there's some shade here from Nick Khan with these comments, but he's not done. He also talked about AEW being a competitor, and here's the quote. "In terms of the other wrestling promotional company, they have a lot of talented wrestlers, and we're happy about that. When contractually they're available to talk to and have conversations with, assume a number of them will come over. Nothing but respect to the father who finances it and owns the Jaguars and all those things." My God, Eric, we're not even hiding this. This is certainly a shot. What's your reaction to this? Goodness gracious.
I didn't take it that way.
Oh,
No, I'm kidding you. That was, yeah. Somebody's having fun. It's good to see. Good to see high level media execs, some of the most successful on the planet, having fun while they're doing it. Wait a minute. This is a professional wrestling business. It's just kind of part of it. It makes it fun. Controversy creates cash. This isn't necessarily controversial. It's just funny. And maybe it's controversial a little bit because it's funny. And it's funny because it's true. That's what makes good comedy. I think it's great.
yeah. I think the phrase that was used last year was warehousing talent. I think WWE and NXT, I mean, every wrestling company winds up doing that. I mean, the reality is, on a football team, you've got 11 players on offense, 11 players on defense, 11 players on special teams for kickoffs, a different 11 players out there for extra points and field goals. I'm saying all that to say, not everybody can be the quarterback. Not everybody's going to be happy with all the play calls. Like, this is not a new problem for WWE or AEW. I mean, I don't have to imagine. We can read about or watch all the shoot interviews from people who were frustrated with their spot in WCW, Eric. Like, the money can be good and the benefits can be good, but satisfying everything, including checking all the boxes creatively. Like, does anyone think Drew McIntyre is thrilled to not be in the main event this weekend, or Randy Orton is thrilled to have his match changed at the last moment? Like, these things happen, right, Eric?
Well, a lot of things happen. Sometimes better ideas happen. Sometimes
Yes.
injuries happen. Sometimes life situations, family situations happen. There's a million things that can require that as a producer, you have as deep of bench as you possibly affordably can. There's a limit generally, but at the same time, you have to do that because you don't know when the better idea or the injury or family emergency is going to take your good idea that you've been planning on for the last 3 months or whatever and just set it on fire. What are you going to do? Not produce a show or produce something that, going in, is going to be horrible, or you keep enough talent on the bench, sometimes 2 or 3 rows deep, to not only develop and hopefully get to the front of that bench, um, but also to have in reserve in case you need them. Or, God forbid, you get an opportunity to grow and do some things that you hadn't planned on. So there's a lot of reasons why I went through it. I got the same criticism, and you have the same issue with because there are certain people that are on that bench that are tired of being on that bench, and they start grumbling. And then it goes from, rumbling internally to complaining to the useful idiots who will then use that for greasy headlines because that grease catches fire fast. It's really easy. And then it becomes a thing. But it was for me, was for WWE under Vince McMahon. It probably will be again if it's not already at some level. And it certainly is for AEW. We've all heard it.
Yeah, we've all heard it. And I'm glad you said that because it's not a new point. I mean, before AEW existed and there really was just WWE, we were all hearing, Eric, that they had 100 wrestlers in developmental. There's 100 wrestlers learning how to wrestle. And, some of those guys are just athletes and others are indie talent that are waiting for an opportunity. So there's only so much TV time to go around. That's just sort of par for the course. But the little veiled shots of nothing but respect to the father who finances it. Wow.
Look, I'm sure there are AEW fans out there that are just setting themselves on fire because of these comments. And I just lighten up. It's just funny. That's all it is funny. And I think it's great for the business. I think it's great.
It's creating chatter. So it's good for the business.
So Tony Khan did the same thing when he got out there with Tony Schiavone and said there's only room for one Khan in the ring. Come on, it's funny.
Yes. He gets that. He understands that. Hey, as I understand it, you went live earlier this week on our new YouTube channel, Podcast Heat Wrestling, for a discussion on a topic we've had a lot of fun with here on the program through the years, the dirt sheets. But this discussion was a little different. You were joined by Derek Sabato, who's been a researcher for The Observer for many years. And for what I'm sure, you two have wildly different takes on the good, the bad, and the perhaps toxic side of the wrestling quote-unquote dirt sheets. Be sure to check out the evolution of the dirt sheets at the link in the description below. And while you're at it, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications bell. The Podcast Heat channel is dropping daily clips, compilations, and more, and it's totally free. Podcast Heat Wrestling here on YouTube. Listen, Eric, we're going to talk about WrestleMania and preview that a little bit, but I think before we do, we should cover some other news and notes. As I said, it's one of the biggest media weeks in the history of WWE, and John Cena was on the record talking about Vince McMahon, and I wanted to share that with you because this is going to get a lot of attention, and maybe it's not all positive. I don't care who hears it. I love Vince. I'm not downplaying anything that needs to be decided or allegations of any kind. But when I love somebody, I love them wholeheartedly. I know people are going to be angry about that, but they can't put their value on my relationship with somebody I love. I know that's not going to be a popular answer because by and large, the internet wrestling community seems to run away from anything Vince McMahon related, but Vince had an actual relationship with John, just as two human beings. I think what he said is fair. He should get to decide where he places value in his own relationships, and our opinions don't really matter to him in that regard. What'd you think about this?
I think John, a lot of respect for John, courage and integrity. You can argue with what John. I don't even know if you can argue. How do you argue about how someone else feels? I mean, what's that? I don't even know how you do that. I mean, the man feels the way he feels based on his beliefs. And oh, by the way, if being a good human being, or dare I say, a good Christian, is you forgive. I mean, how do you argue that? Or worse yet, because you can't argue it. Why would you? Why would you frame somebody that said that as John did? Why would you frame that person as a bad person?
Right.
I don't. There's a huge disconnect for me there. I get it. It's an emotional thing. Everybody wants to beat up on, in this case, Vince McMahon. But insert next person here, next celebrity here that you know the internet wants to beat up, politician, entertainer, whatever. It's just, yeah. Respect, John. It took balls. Took balls. Much respect.
I know that people are having a lot of fun with that interview, but there's another comment out there that I want to share with you. Maybe you missed this, but CM Punk, who has not necessarily played it too close to the vest, but his politics are. If you followed him, you kind of know. But maybe that means he doesn't always fit in WWE, and he's got a quote I want to share with you here, Eric, and get you to respond to. I don't know what people want from us as entertainers. I'm just supposed to quit my job because somebody on Twitter says WWE is a MAGA company. Okay. You're on Lord Elon Musk fucking Twitter saying stupid shit. Shut the fuck up. What have you done? I've done a lot. I just don't broadcast it. I put my money where my mouth is, and the money I make goes to helping impoverished people. I don't need to write my name in on a fucking GoFundMe to make me feel better about the shitty person I am. What do you think about this this comment from CM Punk?
Absolutely respect it.
Yeah.
Absolutely 100% respect it. And by the way, I agree with it. So, yeah. Hats off. You know what's really cool? Obviously, that it's good to hear somebody at Punk's level being honest, much like John Cena was being honest, not sugarcoating, spinning, letting the PR department see what you're going to say before you say it to make sure they don't have any notes or comments, because that's usually how this crap is done. Clearly, that wasn't the case here, and it's really refreshing to hear people speak the truth about how they really feel. Hats off to both John and Paul.
We're live here with Eric Bischoff. Aaron Manzo says AEW is the type of wrestling that makes non-wrestling fans laugh at us wrestling fans for liking wrestling. I don't know about that, Eric. I kind of disagree with that take from Aaron. Thank you for contributing and throwing in, Aaron. We appreciate you being a part of this. But I mean, listen, out of context, you and I could take clips from almost any wrestling show, and if we showed it in mixed company, we might be like, now listen, it's not always like this, right? I mean, that's just part of the show.
Look, if you really are honest, I mean, my relationship with professional wrestling is really, really healthy. I mean, I don't take anything too seriously, trust me. But if you really think about it, if you're non-wrestling fans, maybe people you work with or somehow, connected to business-wise or whatever, came in and sat down and watched TV with you while you're watching wrestling, they would probably have a different opinion of you. And you know that. So, yeah, I think it's funny. These comments are hilarious, by the way.
Swerve Daddy is with us here, and he's got a question for us. One story I always wished finished was Triple H and Austin's two-man power trip, but Triple H got hurt. I'd love to see Rollins and Drew reenact it. Both of them have such similar heat and common storylines. Could you see a story like that happening, Eric? Thank you for hanging with us today, Swerve Daddy. Appreciate the question.
I don't know, man. Is there enough residual equity in that situation in the previous storyline to matter so that a recreation of it or something that felt like an homage to it would give it a little bit more attention? If so, then sure, why not give it a try? At least play it out on paper, see what it looks like. But beyond that, doesn't sound like something that's going to catch lightning in the bottle.
Travis Medway says, we've discussed this before, gents, but with all the money being made by WWE, it's now long overdue. Money being part of storylines, contract negotiations, prize money, just like real life sports. I could actually get behind that. I mean, I know that wrestling sort of moved away from that, but for years and years on the small spot shows or independent shows or outlaw shows, whatever you wanted to call it, they might have like a $5,000 battle royal or a $10,000 ladder match or whatever. We talked about money as being part of the prize. We don't really do that much in wrestling anymore, but since they are now associated with the UFC and we know that's the way traditional prize fighting goes, do you think that contract values and the winner side of the purse and that sort of dialogue should return to the conversation of pro wrestling, or will that ever happen in WWE?
I don't know that it should happen. I would like to see that or something like that happen, and have often thought about that very thing. How can you take people that are, look, part of it is because now the amount of money top players are making in WWE is significant enough and true enough that it can actually be used as stakes. The question is, how do you contextualize it? How do you take what is essentially, guaranteed income over a period of time? Essentially, I know there's all kinds of reasons why it's really not, but it looks that way on paper. But let's just run with that. How do you take that contractual value and contextualize it in terms of a promotion? How do you use it to create stakes? I don't know the answer to that, but there is a way. And I think it would really help because here I go again. On weekends when I'm home, typically, I'd throw my dog, Nikki, in the truck, 1995 GMC, 188,000 miles, still runs like a champ. I'll throw my dog in the truck and I'll turn on Infinity Sports Network, my local FM station. And I'll listen to talk radio for 2 hours, just driving around looking at the mountains and looking for elk and deer and stuff to take pictures of. And I listen to it, and so much of the conversation all starts with money. Whatever issue, whatever controversy, whatever update, whatever injury speculation is related to either what, insert betting platform here odds are saying today, that's your flashpoint for conversation, or contractual status in the multi-million-dollar lives of people that are making a lot of money. Those two things, sometimes together, are the premise for probably 90% of the chatter on sports talk radio. Find a way to do that for wrestling because people gravitate to it. When I say it's relatable, in some ways it is, in some ways it is, and obviously there's not a lot of people out there making the kind of money we're talking about on sports radio today, but it's money, and people know what it represents in a real way. So it's why it works. Now figure out a way to do it. Be cool.
So today's sponsor is this new shaving company called House of Atlas, and they gifted us one of these razors. And honestly, I'm kind of blown away. Not only does it look insanely sleek sitting in my bathroom, but it gives an incredibly close shave. It feels weird to gush over a lineup of shaving products, but truly, House of Atlas makes some one-of-a-kind stuff. Not to mention their products are all designed to look like they should have their own tech reveal. First of all, this Atlas razor looks sick. It's got a sleek design. It's easy to hold and maneuver. It's got a nice weight to it. And I got the black one. It's truly the best looking razor I've ever seen. I mean, it looks like jewelry sitting on the countertop. The blade has 5 US made stainless steel blades that glide right through facial hair. They've even got a high performance serum strip, and it's infused with ingredients like aloe, vitamin E, and shea butter, which is actually going to reduce your irritation and help prevent some of those ingrown hairs. But the coolest part of all this is the precision trim edge. You reveal that by flipping back the serum strip for straight edges and detailing. I've also been liking their shave cream. It's a thick formula that shows me where I'm shaving and leaves the skin like baby bottom soft. Their aftershave is really cool too. It doesn't burn like the old school aftershave, but it does have a nice cooling sensation and it smells really good. But they've got the premium razor kit. It comes with magnetic storage hooks so you can attach them to your bottom of your bathroom mirror or your medicine cabinet. It's easy for storage. And right now, for a limited time, they're offering 15% off your first order when you purchase any razor kit and the before and after set, which includes the precision shave cream and the calming aftershave. Just use our code 83weeks at houseofatlas.com. That's HOUSEOFATLAS.com. Our promo code is 83weeks. You'll get 15% off your new razor kit and your before and after set. Stop wasting money and time on shaving products that don't look good, aren't effective, and cost way too much. Visit houseofatlas.com today. Trust me, you'll love it as much as I did. That's houseofatlas.com and use the promo code 83weeks. So, Eric, I feel like we got a bunch of questions coming in, but there's so much other news that I want to hit a little bit of news, and then we'll jump back to some questions. Another interview quote from CM Punk that we're going to share here. This time it comes from the Ringer Wrestling Show. He's basically saying that WWE is trying to lock him down. I've never been more focused, and there is life in wrestling beyond taking bumps and being in the ring. We'll see what happens. I don't plan on. Well, they're trying to get me to sign a 5-year deal. Could you see CM Punk being in ring for 5 more years? I mean, that is kind of a tall ask, I think, for anybody to sign a 5-year deal.
I don't know. I don't know him well enough to know where his head is at. That's what it boils down to.
He'll be 47 this year, just so you know.
Yeah, and it's relevant. His age is relevant, but it's not overly relevant. I don't think with a guy like Punk. If he chooses to, now he's going to have to work a lot harder at keeping himself in shape because as time goes on, that gets more difficult. It's just metabolism and a fact of life. But you can do a lot to mitigate it or slow it down. And if he's really committed, sure, I could see it. He's got a strong character, and it's only getting stronger in WWE. So he's got as much time as he chooses. That's the question. Does he want it? You heard that comment. There's a lot of things in life other than wrestling or something to that effect. That came up pretty early in his comment. So that's an important thing to him. He may have other plans and other things he wants to accomplish.
The quote was, "There's more to wrestling than just taking bumps." I think he's saying,
okay.
I want to re-sign with WWE. I just don't want 5 years in the ring. I would like to work behind the scenes. And I guess that's where I was going is if Punk were to look at life after wrestling as far as in ring, but he still wants to be in the biz, would you think his highest and best use, if it was your call, Eric, would be in creative, as a producer, as an on-air commentator? Like, is he going to be at the commentary desk? Could he be the stick man? What would the highest and best use post in ring for CM Punk be in an Eric Bischoff organization?
To creative / producer. Think of it almost rather because producer means it can mean anything. It means so many things. You're producer, you're just absolutely, I guess, responsible for making everything happen. So you touch every aspect of whatever it is you're producing, right? Which includes creative, but you're not fully engaged in that process. You're pretty much on the receiving end of it. Maybe you're involved early in discussions if it's kind of a complex series of things that are going to be produced, physical production. But other than that, you're aware of creative, but you don't have much influence over it. I think somebody, based on what I've seen Punk do, just because I didn't really follow him before when he was in WWE, and I thought his stuff in AEW was just it sucked. But since he's been back in WWE, a lot of things have really improved. Not so much improved. A lot of things are different. Let's put it that way. And I really like what I see. So
Hang on, I gotta ask because we're
What?
gonna get beat up if I don't get a clarification here. When you're saying the stuff in AEW sucked, are you saying the way he would work matches, maybe he would give enhancement talent too much? He was too
Yes.
giving? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Expand on that a little bit because this is just going to get painted and quoted like everything he did in AEW sucked, but almost implying he wasn't a good wrestler, but now he is. That's not
Now,
what you're
here,
saying.
I'll be so crystal clear on this that anybody that inverts this or tries to distort it to mean anything other than I intend it to mean is going to look like a complete ass, but have at it anyway. Whenever I watch Punk in AEW, I essentially saw a version of this character that was so overwhelmed with emotion and barely hanging on to his last breath in this victory over an enhancement talent that it just felt, I don't know, desperate's not the word, but it felt like why are you so unhappy? I couldn't understand why that character was projecting consistently an emotion that didn't fit the scene. And so much so that it was awkward for me to watch. It's like, what? Why? And that right there, that and the way Punk tried to reconnect with the audience in his first couple promos, some of the things that he said, to media, to me looked like cheap heat. And generally speaking, when I look at somebody that's a pro in the business, when they rely on cheap heat, the low hanging fruit, the easy stuff, it usually indicates they don't have a lot going on. Meaning they're not that creative, they're not fast on their feet, they're not entertaining, they're not quippy, they're just doing what's easy. And that disappointed me as much as anything else because I kept hearing about this guy's, pipe bomb promo and all that. And then first time I see him live, it's like, really? Like Wrestling 101 cheap heat? That's what you bring to the table the first time you show up? Whether it was fair or unfair, I'm being honest with what impressed me, or in this case didn't. And I saw that kind of presentation with Punk pretty consistently in AEW, which is why I have the opinion I have. It's nothing to do with what his potential was or what he was capable of doing. What I was seeing, the characterization of the CM Punk character in AEW was like damn near broken down and desperate. And I didn't get that.
Lots of people commenting. Aaron thinks that CM Punk would be a great general manager on NXT. That's not a terrible idea. I could see him doing commentary. I could see him working behind the scenes in a creative role. There's a lot of comments on our live chat here saying they don't really see him being an agent. And I think that's probably fair. I don't know that I would maybe see him as an agent either. Not to say he's not qualified, but I don't know that he would be motivated to do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but none of us know. I mean, he
That's right.
he could be really, really valuable creatively as a part of a team at a very high level, or he could suck at it. None of us know, right? It seems like somebody. I mean, just common sense would suggest that anybody, whether it's CM Punk or anybody else, who comes in and over a long period of time learns how to create a character that is clearly effective, that person has knowledge. Depending on that person's personality and personal goals, maybe they want to coach others or develop others or produce others or actually direct others. That's where the director producer thing gets wanky for me. But I think somebody that's proven the ability to create their own and keep their own and get their own character over for an extended period of time has a lot to teach, has a lot to coach, a lot to give back. If they're motivated to do that, some people like it, teaching. Others just don't. So it depends. That's where I would see him. I see him, high level creative and directing talent and helping to get people that were like him at some point and get them comfortable so that they can deliver their own quality promos. That's a fun process if you like doing it.
Another quote came up from CM Punk where he was discussing being in the WrestleMania main event. He says, if it were up to me, believe it or not, Rhea, Bianca, and Io would be the WrestleMania main event. I'm not saying which night. I can tell you that if I was in Triple H's spot, I would gravitate towards that. My researching for that is, when is Io ever going to get another chance? Bianca has done it already. It would be great if she got to do it again. Rhea hasn't done it. You look at people that say WrestleMania main event, Rhea Ripley is top of the list. I agree. I do think Rhea Ripley is going to have her fair share of WrestleMania main events in front of her. But this year in particular, it would have been really hard for me to put that match on in the main event spot. Would that have been your call, or do you agree with CM Punk?
Well, this is like the CM Punk love fest here, but I tend to agree with him. But again, it's hard for me because I'm just not watching closely enough to have a better feel. I'm really watching from afar and paying attention more by keeping up on social media on an airplane than anything else. But yeah, I'm leading Punk today. Oh my gosh.
Navy 4181 is with us here live and says, hey, I just watched the WrestleMania 9 documentary. It's over on Peacock, and it is a fun watch, by the way. Is there any similar WCW archive footage from the Nitros or pay-per-views? So, Eric, I don't know if you've seen it, but the idea is they were filming behind the scenes, construction of the set, some of those backstage moments, people getting ready and arriving at the building. These days they've had all those things going for years because they would post little clips on social media or certainly still images. Usually they'd give them a black and white look and then post them the day after or the day of and that sort of thing. Do you remember WCW ever recording a behind the scenes piece of footage that maybe didn't make air that is out there somewhere? It just never aired.
Only if it would have been like a promo that just for whatever reason got edited out of a show or shot it and use it for pre-tape and for whatever reason, probably timing it never aired, but nothing, behind the scenes, unscripted type footage. Not that I recall ever. It's too bad because man, it could be a movie. Really, I mean, you could do a really good job with a documentary during that period of time if it existed, but it doesn't.
King of Games says, how is there not a $1 billion man gimmick in wrestling right now? That gimmick would have so much heat right now. I think he's on to something. I do see that a lot, eat the rich and, a lot of billionaire hate. People hate billionaires. They're the most hateable, blah, blah, blah. You hear that a lot on television and on social media. Do you think that that's overdue, that someone should portray a billionaire gimmick and just get heat for that? Would that work in 2025? I could see it, Eric. What say you?
I guess I wouldn't do it. Let's just go start with that. Would I do it? No. Is it something that even though I wouldn't do it, I think could work? I don't think so. I think it's lukewarm. At best, it's lukewarm. In certain markets, it'll actually get heat. I mean, look at the UFC crowd. If anybody believes there is some percentage of crossover between television, especially crossover between UFC and WWE, I don't know what it is. I don't know if anybody knows what it is. We'll figure it out at some point. I'm sure somebody will figure it out. But you have to assume there's a fair amount of crossover. And that crowd they're not going to jump on the hate billionaire bandwagon. They're just not. But in other markets, you probably could get some traction with it. Seattle, LA, Chicago, probably. That's about it. And the rest of the country, I think they would just be lukewarm to it.
AOTV Productions is with us, and they're asking the question a lot of people are. Some are thinking Tiffany and Charlotte could possibly turn into a shoot. Eric, what do you think? Will we see any live rounds thrown in this Charlotte Flair Tiffany match?
I have no idea, but I love the fact that it's a discussion point. And I hope a lot of people feel that way or have that thought, because it just means you're interested. And by the way, this kind of thing doesn't come along very often, where you've got two opponents who, presumably based on what we've read and seen, have real heat that could turn into a fight, and we just don't know. When you tune into the premium live event, you're going to find out. I think it's great. I love it. It's that line, we've talked about it, the sweet spot, right? I know all that wrestling stuff is fake, but that's real. That's like, that's hitting the home run, bottom of the ninth, bases loaded, tie game. Pow! It's awesome.
I saw a question on our live chat here where they were asking, hey, does anybody know why the Hall of Fame isn't going to be airing live? I'm of the opinion it is airing live and that it's on the Peacock website and the Peacock app tonight. Have you heard any differently that the Hall of Fame is not live tonight?
No, but I haven't, I haven't been tuned in to social media much the last couple of days. So I haven't heard. I just assume it is. I can't imagine it wouldn't be on Netflix.
Well, be sure to check it out tomorrow morning at 1 a.m. On the East Coast. Yeah. Eric is going to be miserable. Hey, we saw the reveal this morning during the Pat McAfee show. He revealed the set for this year's WrestleMania. Let's take a look at that from WrestleMania 41. What a spectacle this thing is going to be. I mean, just look at the lighting rig. It's kind of overwhelming how much thought and attention to detail. Some of these sketches leaked about a week ago, and I think they actually started setting this up about a week ago. Of course, Stephanie is the one who welcomed us, but what'd you think of this set presentation and just the overwhelming time that goes into the production for this? This is bigger than the finals or the college football championship or even the Super Bowl as far as the staging, if that makes sense. Wouldn't you agree?
This is I'm almost speechless. I mean, look at that shot. I can't imagine what it looks like in person, in a 3-dimension. You get a sense of space and scope of it all. It's hard to believe, man. I can't even imagine what that set cost. And the design that went into it. There's a reason it's red and yellow. Those colors have been proven to be the kind of colors that just help you, it encourages your dopamine hit. Basically, it's a pleasing color combination to the mind and kind of sets a mood and a tone. And the way they've used those colors here is really pretty fascinating.
Look at that set right there. Look, what a great shot that is.
I mean, it looks like it's about a half a mile deep, right?
You know what I think we ought to do is I think we ought to take a picture of that with our phone right now. And then I could take a picture of you and maybe Stephanie from when you kissed her on SmackDown. I think I can actually put that into a portrait at paintyourlife.com. And that would be really great to give to Stephanie in time for Mother's Day. And if you're really looking for something special for Mother's Day or Father's Day this year, let me just tell you that I've discovered you can have any photo turned into a portrait. It'll be of one of their favorite memories, and it can be all done and delivered in time for Mother's Day or Father's Day, thanks to Paint Your Life. I'm a big believer in this product. I've used it for my own mother-in-law, my father-in-law, and my own mom and dad. This year, let me just tell you the plan. My cousin Derek, he is a new dad, and unfortunately, his parents passed away before they got a chance to meet their grandbaby. Well, that's obviously a traumatic thing for a young guy in his 20s. So I managed to sneak a photo of his mom and dad holding him when he was a baby. I uploaded that to paintyourlife.com. And then I took a picture of his son, Harrison, And now they're going to be combined into a super portrait, all from Paint Your Life, that Derek is going to get this year for Father's Day. I'm telling you that because, well, Eric's more of a double, my buddy Derek is more of a double J guy. He's not listening to Eric Bischoff's podcast. So I can tell you the secret. But this is the gift. I mean, we've all heard that cliche before. What do you get the guy who has everything? Guys, my father-in-law is Ric Flair. What do you get that guy he doesn't already have? A painting of his daughters. That's what you do. That's what he got for Father's Day, and you can do this too. Here's how it works. You choose the artist, then you choose the medium. Like, do you want this painting done as an oil, as an acrylic, as a watercolor, as a charcoal? They can even help you pick a frame, and you're working directly with the artist to make sure the portrait turns out exactly like you dreamed. You can get this whole process done in under 2 weeks. It's meaningful, it's personable, it's always heartwarming, and it's a gift they'll never forget. Paint Your Life transforms your photos into a one-of-a-kind, beautiful hand-painted portrait done by professional artists, and you truly can give the most meaningful gift you've ever given with Paint Your Life. There's no risk either. If you don't love the final painting, your money's refunded, guaranteed, and right now is a limited time offer. You can get 20% off your painting. That's right, 20% off and free shipping. To get this special offer, just text the word weeks to 87204. Text weeks to 87204. Text WEEKS to 87204. Paint Your Life. Celebrate the moments that matter most. Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details. We're live here and taking your questions, so be sure to hook us up here. If you've got one, keep them coming. Jared says, I thought for sure we were going to see Rock, Cena, and Travis Scott in a Hollywood faction. Any sense this was abandoned? No, I mean, I think Travis Scott and The Rock are going to be at WrestleMania, but based on what Cena showed us on Instagram, maybe Stone Cold's going to be there too. Do you think we've seen the last of a faction, if you will, for these big shows, The Rock and John Cena and Travis Scott? Do you think that can become a more regular thing, Eric?
I hope so. I think so, because it makes sense, right? It's an attraction. It provides you an opportunity to bring something unique and different at a very high level to the table that doesn't involve a wrestling match, therefore doesn't take away from anything. I think it's great if you could figure it out, of course. Think of all the media that's going to come with it and the attention and the coverage after the show, all of which will continue to build a brand for next year. Yeah. Can't imagine they won't if they can.
We've got the inside scoop here. We've mentioned at the top of the show that we wanted to give a shout out to our man, Mark Hoke, who has the #1 wrestling show in the Las Vegas area. So he knows a thing or two about the way things operate in Las Vegas. And if Silva can throw up a photo of that set for the WrestleMania set this year, Mark is giving us the inside scoop. And he says they actually changed the set because the Fontainebleau, which is a new, failing resort in Las Vegas, they actually changed the set because the Fontainebleau paid them off. It was supposed to look like a flamingo. That's what those buildings are of. So the outside, these buildings above there, that's patterned to look like the Fontainebleau Hotel, which I believe is where the Hall of Fame is today. And I've heard the rumor and innuendo is that these cats actually lose like $300,000 or $400,000 per day, every day. It's a bad time in Las Vegas, but goodness gracious, they're spending some money here. And WWE has found a way to monetize every bit of it. Like, we all knew that the Xfinity thing right there that we're seeing was paid for. But now to know, hey, they got paid to even make part of the set look like, wow, they figured out a way to monetize everything, Eric. Bravo, right?
I wonder if they have something written in the agreement that they get the first option to buy the place too. Because they're kind of putting it on the map, adding value to it. Like, why wouldn't you want to use that leverage and use it to maybe somehow, own a hotel?
Well, they've done that before with the Debbie Reynolds experiment way back when, but that was Vince and that was then. This is now. If you could get a distressed asset at a deal and run all your UFC and WWE, I don't know. We'll see.
Oh, Hall of Fame, physical Hall of Fame.
Oh,
all kinds of stuff you could do.
Wait, hang on. All right, have you heard things or you just speculating?
No, I'm just connecting dots that are obvious.
Okay. Well, speaking of some other dots, Big E has confirmed the dots that we all suspected about Rusev. He says, I reached out to him and he confirmed that the news is indeed true. I don't know when he'll be back. A blast from the past. And actually, it's very topical because he has just announced that he is returning to the Squared Circle here in World Wrestling Entertainment. That was right off of a Fanatic stream. So Rusev is back. No big surprise, I guess. But, listen, everybody wants to know, when will we see him? Do you think we see him over WrestleMania weekend? Is it the Monday after WrestleMania? Or do you think they hold off a little longer on the Rusev debut?
I think it all depends on what their plans are. If they have plans and they want to reintroduce the character and get as much attention on him as possible, I would wait till after WrestleMania because there's so much going on. Yeah, all eyes are on WrestleMania, but WrestleMania has a million cool moving parts. Hard for any one of them to stand out. And if you're bringing somebody back, you want that to be kind of a standout moment. So for that reason, I would wait if I have a plan. If you don't have a plan, you definitely want to wait till you do. Unless he would be involved in an angle that would have an out, continue after WrestleMania, I'd be shocked to see him during WrestleMania.
We got some other news about Roman Reigns. He recently did a pretty big time interview with Variety, Vanity Fair, and he did a photo shoot as part of this that's got some attention. But one of the things that he said that I want to have a chance to give you a chance to respond to here, Eric. After I finish the contract that I'm in, we probably got another year or two max. Then it's time to take on a less physical form of entertainment. So I think that his current contract, Eric, is good through like next year, maybe May of 2026, something like that. Then he says another year or two. So that might mean we see Roman Reigns wrap up at like WrestleMania 27 or the year 27 or the year 28. So we've got 2 or 3 years left with Roman Reigns. Are you surprised that he'd be talking like this and sort of calling his shot out front?
Surprised? No, I find it interesting. I'm reading into it, because I don't know Roman Reigns at all, but he seems like a thoughtful person based on quotes and other things that I've read that he has said. He seems like a really thoughtful guy that has a really good head on his shoulders, meaning he knows what's valuable to him. And I wouldn't be surprised if he has made up his mind that he's going to give it 36 months and he's going to start winding down and make the most of it and, walk into that next chapter. Sounds to me like it's what he's thinking. So good for him. What a blessing that is to be in a position where you're healthy, you're at the top of your game, and you can basically write your own exit strategy. That's freedom. Very cool.
It is cool. I do think it's interesting though, because I don't know that everybody's paying attention to this right now, but a lot of the top stars, they're sort of making it known, hey, we're finishing up. And I mean a lot. Look, we just mentioned Roman Reigns, who said he's got a year or two left on his next contract. So this one runs out, we'll call it a year from now. So 2 or 3 years, he's out. He's 39 years old, which is the same age as Cody Rhodes. So if Cody feels similarly to Roman that maybe he wants to go try his hand at wrestling or Hollywood after wrestling, maybe Cody and Roman both find themselves doing something else in a few years. You've heard Punk have a little bit of heartburn about signing a 5-year contract. Meanwhile, Randy Orton, he's seemingly saying he thinks he's got 5 years left. Brock Lesnar, we hear, is maybe done. I think he's 47, which is the same age as AJ Styles, who said that he maybe has 1 more year wrestling. And Seth Rollins, he's only a year younger than Cody and Roman. In 5 years, the WWE, seemingly, when you take a look at the top, and it is crowded right now, I think all of those guys are gone, Eric. Like, they've got to focus on making that next group of stars right now. Guys like Braun Breaker, maybe guys like Jacob Fatu, there's a whole lot of stars that are out there, but it does feel like we're seeing sort of the senior class come through right now, and these next few years are going to be critical, I think.
Wow, that's a good observation. Hadn't thought about it that way, and not really paying attention to some of that chatter. But wow, you know what? I mean, if I was in NXT right now, I'd be doing double days. You know, I when everybody else goes home, I'd say actually, I'd put a couple more hours in with somebody, bring time and working on my character, or whatever I need to work on. Because that what a hell of an opportunity. You know, because yes, those let's say 5 guys, 5 of those names, all within, I don't know, let's say 3 years, just for discussion. All of those guys are gone over the next 3 years. That means starting probably today, they're gonna start at least thinking through who are some of those people that are gonna elevate potentially into that spot. And it's not like you can make a decision on Monday and affect it on Tuesday. If you pick a couple people out, now it's a process and it takes a long time. And those people are going to start getting, and you're doing it with multiple people at the same time. There may be 5 spots, but you're going to have to really try to move 10 of them along, 10 people along to see who's going to fill those spots. It's going to be a lot of additional opportunities and interesting storylines and people given a chance to cut through the clutter and get to the front of the line. It's fun.
Well, somebody who's going to try to break through on the other channel, we saw debut earlier this week. Josh Alexander, who's a former TNA world champion and one of the more well-respected guys who recently went through free agency, has now made it official. He signed with AEW. He was the mystery opponent for Hangman Adam Page in the Owen Hart Memorial Cup. Hangman gets the win, and it feels like immediately here comes Don Callis to align himself with Josh Alexander. The long-term fans of TNA, they remember him being a fabulous tag team with Ethan Page down in NXT. I think a lot of people thought maybe they'd get back together. Josh went on a tear, was maybe the golden boy for the Scott D'Amore version of TNA for years. And now we're seeing Josh Alexander, I believe represented by Barry Bloom, so I can only assume making more money than ever before. I'm happy for him. What do you think of the news that Josh Alexander is officially a part of AEW?
Good for him. I've worked with him a couple times over the last several years, 2 or 3 years. One time in Australia, last time I was there, a couple other appearances together, one in Salt Lake City, and our tables were right next to each other. So I got a chance to get to know him a little bit throughout the day, and more importantly, watch how he handled himself with fans. And he's a real he's a credit to the business. Congratulations.
That makes me want to ask you this question. Coach T from Wolfpack Basketball says, given his experience in management, how does Eric think he would do as an agent for wrestlers today? Is that ever something you even considered?
No.
Why not?
Well, for me, an agent has to have an absolute thorough understanding, have experience, and a unique talent in communicating the physical part of wrestling and what's expected in a match and the psychology behind it and the ability to coach it and to paint that picture in a way that someone that you're working with, a wrestler, can really understand what you see in your head and how to bring out the emotion that's required in the story at the precise time. It's really, it's a really unique job. And it just would require so much in-ring experience and expertise, not just experience, but expertise. And I don't have that. I wish I did, but I don't. But it can be a really cool. Remember earlier on we were talking about Punk and backstage stuff. It's almost more of a director. I like that more than producer because producers are responsible for making sure everybody's at the right place at the right time. We got the right lights, we got the right audio equipment, everything's functioning properly. And I've got my script. Okay, there's a director. 3, 2, 1, go. That's a producer. You're putting pieces of things together. The director has a lot more to do in my perspective of this. Everybody has their own. but the director is more responsible for creating the emotion and the scene and the tone. It's a much more creative driven process as opposed to making sure all the assets are in one place. And that's the kind of thing that I see somebody like Punk doing. Would I enjoy doing something like that? Absolutely, I would enjoy it. Would I choose to do it for a living? No, not at this point because it requires travel. It requires a lot that I wouldn't be willing to do. But I love doing it. Like, would I do it as a one-off, as a guest, or if somebody would just let me do it just to have fun by myself at an indie show or something? Hell yeah, I'd do that, but not as a commitment.
Carl Bennington is saying that you're the best boss on the planet. Eric Bischoff is the best boss on the planet. And then he also has a fun question. Boy, this is one I never even thought of. Never crossed my mind, but maybe it could have worked. When the NWO Wolfpack started dying off, did you think you should have added more hot women to it to make it grow? Why not Stacy Keebler? She was a massive Wolfpack fan. Listen, I mean, you did have the big bad booty daddy. You had big sexy Kevin Nash. Was that a Turner call to have, not make such a priority the scantily clad women that maybe WWE was showcasing at the time?
Well, it depends on the time. There was a point, 96, like immediately after NWO, all of 97, probably until March of about 98, before any influence of Time Warner began to manifest. It was just like, I didn't, there was no Turner mandates. I very rarely communicated with anybody about what I was doing creatively, ever. Even Harvey Schiller, after Time Warner and AOL got involved, I still didn't communicate what I was doing creatively to my boss because they didn't ask. They had no interest. They were only interested in the numbers associated with the creative, but they never wanted to take the time to understand or even approve. So I never ran anything by them. So there was a period of time from, like I said, 96 to first quarter 98, where had someone come to me and said, or if I had the idea, hey, maybe we just need to get a little more risque, kind of bring in a more adult themed, female presence into the show. Maybe the storylines need to get a little racier. Had I decided to do that, I would not have had to get it approved. And within what I know are my own bounds of what's doable and not doable, I don't think I would have had any issues. And I still would have been able to lean into it to the extent that I would have been comfortable with personally, which is a lot, by the way. Would have been fun. But I think by 98, by second quarter 98, that's when I would have had issues internally.
I do want to get your take on an interview that Shawn Michaels did recently. But before we do, I want to give you a heads up that if you own a handgun for self-defense, your storage likely fits into one of two very frustrating categories. It's either locked away, so it's safe, but out of reach in case of an emergency, or it's unsecured, which leaves it vulnerable to anyone. Well, Stopbox USA saw the problem and designed a groundbreaking solution called the Stopbox Pro. With the Stopbox Pro, you'll never have to choose between security and readiness again. Its ingenious push-button locking system gives you fast, reliable access when every second matters. Without the hassle of keys or reliance on batteries, it's 100% mechanical, so it works every time, no power needed. And with Stopbox USA, you can finally have both security and readiness. The Stopbox Pro's mechanical keyless system allows for fast, secure access without the risk of fumbling around for keys because every second counts. It's also battery free, so you never have to worry about your lock not working. And all the Stopbox products are proudly made here in the USA in their own facility. That ensures the highest quality craftsmanship, but it also creates jobs and opportunities for American workers. And you can even do airline travel with your Stopbox Pro because it is indeed TSA compliant. And right now, for a limited time, our listeners are getting a crazy good deal. You see, not only can you get 10% off your entire order when you use the code 83weeks at stopboxusa.com, but they're also giving you a buy one, get one free for their Stopbox Pro. That's 10% off and a free Stopbox Pro when you use the code 83weeks at stopboxusa.com. Discover a better way to balance security and readiness with Stopbox. So listen, this quote from Shawn Michaels is about the evolution of the business, Eric. And he says, old timers like me often talk about these kids don't sell anything like we did. But at the same time, I remember people saying that to me. This is generational. I think you have to change with the times. Football, basketball, baseball, they all need to be faster than they once were to keep an audience entertained and locked in. And our business is no different. He said that on the Bobby Bones show. What do you think of that?
Oh, I've said the same thing and many times. You know, I've told stories here with you about, you know, sitting with Ray Stevens, Ray the Crippler Stevens, and Wahoo McDaniel, and Greg Gagne and Vern Gagne, sitting in their office after hours when I first got to work in the business, and having a couple beers and listening to these guys all tell stories. And part of those stories were, before you got to the good stuff, were always their view on the current product. You have to sit through a bitch fest that usually lasted about an hour, 2 12-packs between the group. Lasts about an hour, and then you get into the good stories, right? And I started out hearing the same thing that Sean's talking about. Those same guys, these young kids, they just don't get it. You know, not protecting the business. They don't know how to sell. And I've heard it throughout my entire career from different people at different stages of their lives.
Let's talk about some other news and notes in the wrestling business. I want to get your take on another departure from New Japan. But before we do, I want to give a shout out to Jared Craston, who says, seeing the cool stage of this year's WrestleMania, I fell off of watching wrestling in the 2010s as I thought matches were becoming less storytelling and more stipulation based. Can we bring vintage pay-per-views back? I think he's talking about the old set designs. You know, once upon a time, every set had a different theme. Of course, you recall you had the giant Halloween Havoc set. You had the incredible Bash at the Beach set. It does feel like WWE has sort of moved away from that. And is this just the evolution of the technology that you can get all the screens and lights and things like that? So they're just pushing production forward that way? Or should they lean into this nostalgia that fans seemingly want with the old set design? Should that be the new norm, or should they just dust off the nostalgia once or twice a year, Eric?
I'd find a solution in the middle, because I love the idea of paying homage, you know, celebrating something that's memorable for whatever reason, even if you want it to be perceived as memorable, even though it's not. But let's take, for example, the Halloween Havoc set design, one of them. Rather than dusting it off and bringing it back, because it would feel kind of dated, cool for a minute, but 3 hours of it would be a little much. But what if you use today's technology to build bigger, brighter? So you use the design, the theme, the colors, the imagery, but then you blow it up with today's technology so that it's larger than it actually was then. I don't mean physically larger, but the perception of it. Is it actually larger? Like that Flamingo Hotel, whatever it was, the Fontainebleau Hotel, that looks way cooler than it really is. I'm sure of it. I've never seen it. I'll see it tonight, but I'm absolutely sure that graphic representation of it, or that representation of it in the set, is way cooler than it physically really is. Do the same thing with some of those old, really cool sets. I think it'd be fun.
I, for one, would love to see them embrace it a little bit here and there. Let's talk about Naito. He's one of the top stars from New Japan, and it's come out that he and New Japan have mutually agreed to not renew his contract. His final appearance for New Japan is going to be on May 4th. And I'm bringing this to your attention, Eric, because we just recently saw, not too terribly long ago, The Rock appear on Instagram wearing a New Japan shirt. And of course, that got everybody stirred up. Oh, does that mean WWE is going to try to have a partnership with New Japan and seemingly take it away from AEW?
I thought they're going to buy it.
Well, I don't think WWE is probably in the mood to buy any wrestling organizations right now. I could be wrong, but we'll see. I mean, I guess that is a possibility. We know that Jeff Cobb is seemingly headed in. We've seen once upon a time massive exodus from, Gallows and Anderson, AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura. It was a mass exodus from New Japan to WWE once upon a time several years ago in January. Do you expect Naito to show up in WWE, or do you think he's headed to AEW? Or if you had to forecast, is there anything to this? Why is The Rock wearing a New Japan shirt? Is it simply he's tongue in cheek responding to Carl Anderson's criticism? Does it mean anything at all, Eric?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. It could, certainly. Got everybody talking, which is pretty easy to do, I guess, if you're The Rock on social media. But it's kind of cool, to get people buzzing over effectively absolutely nothing. Guy wore a shirt. Oh, what does it mean? What could it mean? As far as Naito, where does he go? If I had to bet, I would bet AEW. That would be where I put my money. Well, I'm more curious as to why so many people are leaving. Is there an issue with New Japan? I mean, where is their business today? Are they a successful
They're in the
company in
toilet.
Japan?
They're down.
They're down.
They're down.
Well, you can be down and still be successful. Are they down compared to where they want to be, or are they facing financial challenges?
I heard a few years ago that it could be bought.
They're facing financial challenges. Then these departures are a little more interesting, and potentially there's more going on behind the scenes that meets the eye, more than just I want to go explore the other market, see what I can do. If they're having financial trouble and they're having a hard time keeping top talent, you could be seeing a sale quicker than you would expect.
I do want to talk about some other news and notes. But before we do, I want to remind you we're live here with Eric Bischoff, and you can ask a question, anything you want. And I want to get a cheap plug in. When the final curtain falls on WrestleMania Night 2, Eric and I are going to be live here at 83weeks.com. Go out of your way to join us, and go ahead and do us a favor. Hit the notifications bell right now, so you'll be notified the moment we're live. But this will be immediately following Night 2. We do have some friends and family who are going to be in the building at WrestleMania. So if we miss anything, we'll be able to talk about that. We'll be going around the same time as the press conference. So if there's any breaking news or opinions or fallout, we'll be here to cover it. And it's happening this Sunday night, immediately following WrestleMania. I'm going to make sure Eric takes a power nap. So we'll be here to have a good time. Catherine Summers is with us. She's been with us for 10 months. Appreciate all your support, Catherine. And she says, hey, Eric, what's your take on the main event, and how do you think CENA is going to come out? Hey, that's an interesting question. He's had some pretty over-the-top WrestleMania entrances. This is seemingly his last one. He's coming in as a bad guy. You think they pull out all the stops for CENA's entrance this year?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I think this is a John Cena WrestleMania in a lot of ways, so definitely.
AOTV Productions says, what do you guys think are the chances that Travis Scott gets a receipt from Cody this weekend? Do you think we see that?
No. No. I think it's crazy. I don't think it probably is as big a deal to either of these two as it is to the people that are reading about it, talking about it. But I could be wrong. You never know. Cody could get hot.
Well, I mean, Cody's been saying he's looking for it this weekend, so there may be a planned spot. We'll see.
Cody's one of those guys you just would expect him to, get emotional and do something drastic because he's a pretty cool cucumber, right? He's not the guy that's just going to go off for no reason, but he kind of has a reason. So I don't know. It'd be fun. I don't wish anything bad on anybody, but go Cody.
Guy W. John says, what are the chances we hear the glass break and Stone Cold turns out to be the third man? That could be interesting. Let's remember.
That would be awesome, right?
John Cena said, see you this Sunday, Stone Cold. Imagine if the 1, 2, 3 did become seemingly the previous Mount Rushmore of WWE, the guys who were in the Cody spot prior to him. Of course, we're talking about John Cena, The Rock, and Stone Cold. I mean, really, if you go back to 1998 to now, I mean, if you slide Roman Reigns in there, those are the guys who kind of ran the show with the exception of Triple H, don't you think?
I mean, what is the topic? Who's your Mount Rushmore of wrestling? Where they're going to create one
Yes.
and merchandise the hell out of it.
Yes.
It'll be some of the hottest selling merchandise in WWE within the next 60 days, if that's what they do, because it's such a cool idea. And who's the Mount Rushmore is always the question, and they're going to merchandise the answer. I love a good money grab because it unlike the people that usually complain about money grabs, it takes creativity. It takes thought, critical thinking, initiative. It's art. It's fun. This is a cool idea. I'm going to order mine. I'm going to put an order in, even if it doesn't exist. So when it does, I get mine first. It's cool.
I got to say, it would be cool too to see Seth Rollins teaming with Cody Rhodes in a tag match against Roman. So I'm sorry, Seth Rollins and John Cena in a tag team against Cody and Roman in a tag team. There's a million different ways to do this. I think everybody's really anxious to see what happens. But I keep seeing more of this, like what Aaron says here. If Cena loses, we riot. A lot of people are coming to WrestleMania hoping to see John Cena win the 17th World Championship, breaking Ric Flair's record.
Oh, yeah.
Last WrestleMania main event. I mean, if you were pulling the trigger here, would you have Cody retain, or do we walk away with a new heel Cena championship reign?
Cena, heel, chase, Cody. There's your future. That's what I'd be excited about.
Carl Bennington says Austin Rock didn't like the NWO entering the WWE, so they killed it. McMahon shouldn't care what people think. Rock and Austin retired the next year anyway. That is an excellent point. You know, when the WWE brought back the NWO in 2002, of course, it wasn't with everybody, but it was Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and Hulk Hogan. And very quickly, they turned Hulk Hogan babyface, and well, the NWO thing never really got off the ground. And what he's saying here is true. Shortly thereafter, Rock and Austin were gone anyway. Do you think the WWE, if the NWO was coming to an end now, if WWE was buying WCW today in 2025, and Vince McMahon's out of the equation, and Triple H is helping navigate all of this, do you think with the negotiating skills of Nick Khan and the creative collaboration of Triple H that the invasion would have been handled differently? Or do you think it's always going to result just as it did?
No, I think it could have been handled way differently. I think it was ill-conceived from the get-go. It was rushed and slapped together without a lot of planning from my perspective. And that, by the way, nobody's ever shared that inside information with me. I'm just looking from the outside in and having a little bit of inside information. But look, despite the fact that it was rushed, it was slapped together, there wasn't a lot of planning, there wasn't a lot of forethought. It's like, hey, let's get these guys here, let's do this, and we'll figure it out as we go. My guess is that was pretty much the creative strategy for this. But even if there had been a plan and everything else was fine, there were other issues with some of the talent that would have just, it wasn't going to go anywhere. There's bad timing in that regard, and it was destined to failure for a lot of reasons. Some of them obvious, some not so much.
Well, I'll tell you what's obvious. Everybody's having more fun with Prize Picks. I'm a big believer in Prize Picks, and I want you to cash in on the basketball playoffs with Prize Picks. Don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the court to your Prize Picks lineup, whether it's points, rebounds, assists. Take your pick of more or less for your shot to win up to 2,000x your cash today. You can turn your playoff hot takes into tickets to basketball's championship series. Starting with the play-in round, every lineup you make on the Prize Picks will enter you in the Takes Two ticket sweepstakes, where you and a +1 get a VIP trip to the ship. Prize Picks truly is the best place to win cash while watching sports. So what are you waiting for? Join millions of other users and sign up today. They've got special promotions all the time. Like today, it's Flex Friday. Make sure you opt in and tap the checkbox in your lineup builder to be eligible for what they call the protected play. You choose your squares from any game on the board, and if your lineup does not win, your net losses back in promo funds for your promo limit as soon as the lineup settles. So all you got to do right now is sign up today and you'll get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win in order to receive that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. But this is a lot of fun right now with Prize Picks and the basketball playoffs getting here. I mean, do you think LeBron James will get more than 24 points? Do you think Giannis is going to get more than 35 points? That's really all it is. Don't miss your chance to have a lot of fun. You can even do this with hockey. That's right. You can do it with hockey. You can do it with baseball. Like my buddy Dave Green, he's actually betting that Aaron Judge is going to have more than half a single. How easy is that? Is Aaron Judge going to get on base tonight? Boom, you're in play. It really is that simple. What are you waiting for? Download the app today. Use the code 83weeks to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code 83weeks to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. So listen, we've had a lot of fun talking about WrestleMania and all the hypothetical results of the main event, but everybody's talking about WrestleMania, including Michael, who says, "Do you have a Mount Rushmore of WrestleMania matches?" And Eric, I know that you watch wrestling differently. Of course, when I was a little kid, Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage at WrestleMania 5 would have been one of mine. And then the next year, Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania 6 would have been one of mine. Now, as an adult, I can say, man, that ladder match with Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon at WrestleMania 10, that fabulous I Quit match that you and I just recently watched from WrestleMania 13 with Austin and Brett. A lot of people still consider the Undertaker and Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 25 to be the all-time best. But usually when people talk about best WrestleMania matches, they go to Randy Savage and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat from WrestleMania 3. Do you have a favorite WrestleMania match, or can you do a Mount Rushmore? Do you have 4 of those?
No, I couldn't. And this is going to sound really strange, but a lot of it had to do with my age and what was going on in my life at that time. But I grew up watching wrestling from the time I was 8 till the time I was about 15. Right, wrestling was front and center in my entertainment diet, so to speak. Then from about 16 to 18, I still kind of dropped in and watched. This is pre-WrestleManias now, right? By the time WrestleMania became a thing, and by the time they got hot, 3, 4, 5, 7, 9, for example, we were just talking about, I really wasn't watching wrestling too much. And I really wasn't watching WrestleMania. I had other things in my life that I fell out of my wrestling fandom during that period of time, which happens often when you talk to people. And then I got back into it probably, when I came back to watching wrestling again, it would have been after Lori and I met. So it would have been 1982, 83, but I was only watching local wrestling because that was my thing. I was aware of WWE, and I had some friends that were aspiring to wrestle there, and some who I knew that were wrestling in WWE at the time, Brad Ringans being one of them. But I was just never that big of a fan to tune into the WrestleManias.
We're live here with Eric Bischoff. If you got a question, keep them coming. Josh Henney says, at the end of the weekend, what was the WWE's biggest success, do you think, Eric? Revenue generated, stories ending or starting or progressing, or great matches? Or is it something else? What is the WWE's biggest success this weekend, Eric?
I think it's all of the above, and I think it's really what's the commentary post-show. How does the worldwide audience feel about the product that they watched? you're going to get your, hardcore wrestling fans, internet wrestling fans, the cage match rankings, club, who are going to feel very strongly one way about, the quality of the matches. But generally speaking, how is it perceived among mainstream audience and even sponsors and supporters? If the vibe is good, that's really what's important because it sets you up for next year. If the overall vibe is like flat because it just didn't deliver on any expectations, that's a challenge. And you need to fix that. So we'll see.
I've heard speculation, Eric, about the gate this weekend, and I heard a very well educated guess. Do you want to take a stab at it?
No, I wouldn't know where to begin.
How does 60 million strike you?
Say what? What was that? 60?
60.
Okay. And what does that represent?
The gate from WrestleMania.
Just the live gate.
I don't know all the details. They're going to make $60 million from WrestleMania. More people.
Okay. But I was wondering, does that all things, licensing,
We'll hear it all Sunday night, and I'm sure we'll break it down. But $60 million for a WrestleMania, no matter how we get there. I mean, there's lots of rumor and innuendo. They got $21 million just to get the space, and nothing cost any money, and it was all free because nobody wanted to go to Vegas on Easter. So they broke the bank for that. But I've also heard speculation where people were sort of clowning that, WWE's not even going to sell all their seats. This is the highest priced WrestleMania of all time. And if you've seen their trends in the last 2 weeks, that's when tickets really start to move. But no matter what it is, because of sponsorship, because of revenues from merch, because, Fanatics is handling their convention, they've monetized this in a way with sponsorships for every match, for the pregame show, for the postgame show. This is going to shatter every record in WrestleMania history. And I think this will be the most viewed because here in America, we're all going to be watching on Peacock. But the rest of the world, Eric, they're going to be watching WrestleMania on Netflix. This is the most viewed, most revenue. This is the pinnacle of wrestling history this weekend, is it not?
As Wayne Gretzky said so famously, this is where the puck is going, folks. You can use other events as your reference in terms of attendance and gates and all that because it's something to talk about. But this is where the business is going, and it's all about the money at the end of the day. If the number is 60 million all in for everything, that's the number that you're going to be hearing about, as you should, because it represents success, it represents growth, it represents wider distribution, it represents life in any business, especially this one. It's pretty cool.
We're going to quickly run through some matches, and I'm going to get you to give us a prediction. We got the War Raiders against the New Day. The War Raiders are coming in as the tag team champions. Of course, this is a different New Day than we've seen. There's no Big E, and there's no Power of Positivity. We've got the new heel version of the New Day. If you had to pick, who's going over, Eric, the War Raiders or the New Day?
New Day.
I would agree. Next up, we've got Rey Mysterio and El Grande Americano. We don't know who this guy is. I don't know how he got a WrestleMania booking so quickly. He's only been with the promotion a few weeks or a few months. I've even seen speculation that much like Hulk Hogan once disguised himself as Mr. America, perhaps El Grande Americano is actually Vince McMahon. I don't know that. That's rumor and innuendo. We'll have to see. But if he found a way to sneak in to WrestleMania, that would be fascinating. Who do you think goes over here, Rey Mysterio or this young upstart, El Grande Americano?
I think somebody's going to get exposed, and I think Rey Mysterio is going to do the exposing, and I think it's going to be fun as hell, and it's a great comedic, lighthearted, totally entertaining segment of WrestleMania, and I'm looking forward to it. It's fun.
Jade Cargill will be in there with Naomi. I think this might actually be one of, if not the very first women's singles match in WrestleMania history that wasn't for a title. Jade Cargill, of course, is the bright new shiny object from AEW, and she's been a tag team champion. But now this is really the first storyline with real teeth that she's had in WWE. She faces off against Naomi, her former friend. The story of betrayal. Who do you got here, Jade or Naomi?
I'm going to go with Jade. I'm going to bet that this is her coming out party, and not in the sense we've seen her. Obviously, she's debuted. She's been active on television, but this is her WrestleMania coming out party, designed to get her over and to really launch her into the next phase of her career. That's my bet, and if I'm right, she's going to go over.
The last time we saw a women's singles match for non-title at WrestleMania, we'd have to go back 19 years to Tori Wilson versus Candice Michelle in a Playboy pillow fight. Wrestling's changed just a little bit, Eric. Match 4 will be LA Knight and Jacob Fatu. The U.S. title is on the line. LA Knight has been hotter than donut grease for a couple of years, but Jacob Fatu is supposed to be what's next in WWE. You've even predicted you think he could be in the main event as soon as next year. That was the trajectory that we saw John Cena take. He wins a U.S. title at a WrestleMania, and then the next year, what do you know? He's in a battle for the world title, having won the Royal Rumble. Do you think that march starts this weekend for Jacob Fatu, Eric?
I think it has to, and I almost hate to say that because I'm such an LA Knight fan, and it just seems like he's slowed down a little bit here in terms of his momentum. But Jacob Fatu's it's destiny for him. He's on his way, and I think this is just one of the big first steps.
We got Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte Flair. Tiffany is the champ. Lots of people are ready for some live rounds in this one. There's lots of hurt feelings, I guess, and in real life, there's speculation these ladies don't get along. No matter what's real, what is real is the anticipation. People are ready to see something happen here, Eric. What do you expect is the result? Does Tiffany walk out champ, or is Charlotte back in the driver's seat?
It's hard to get a feel for this one because their characters are so similar. Like from a motivation point of view, it's like, they're both not really baby faces and they're both not really heels. It's like the crowd is dying to get behind one or the other. Then if I'm right on that, then it becomes, what does Triple H see? What does WWE see in the story? My gut, just my gut, if I had to bet, I would bet Charlotte comes out of this as more of a baby face and she's chasing. That'd be my bet.
We've also got the world title, the World Heavyweight Championship on the line. Gunther comes in as the champ, and he's going to be taking on Jey Uso, who has requested to come out first and start the show on Saturday. What do you hope happens with Jey Uso and Gunther?
I want to see Gunther. I like Gunther as a character. I think he's got so much potential. I mean, he's already there. He's there, and he's such a unique character. He's so different than anybody else, and it's just refreshing as hell to me.
The match that perhaps everyone is paying the most attention to on Saturday is, after all this time, finally CM Punk in the main event. Now, it is the night one main event, but still, it's going on last, and it'll close the show as he steps between the ropes with Roman Reigns and with Seth Rollins. What do you expect to happen here? And while you're thinking about that, Eric, I want to remind everybody about Magic Spoon. Magic Spoon is the real deal. I've been supporting and talking about Magic Spoon for years and years, and it's all about nostalgia. And if you like nostalgia, well, that's why you're listening to this show. You like nostalgia. And here it is, man, in breakfast form. Because Magic Spoon's breakfast cereal tastes just like the ones you grew up on, except without all the sugar, and now packed with a bunch of protein. Did I mention they're high protein treats? Well, they're crispy, they're crunchy, they're airy, and it's an excellent way to get 12 grams of protein on the go. They've got flavors like the ones Mom used to make with marshmallow. How about chocolate peanut butter? That's a Jeff Jarrett favorite. And dark chocolate. I actually prefer the double chocolate, and I actually had one yesterday. Fantastic stuff. Did I mention the new granola packs? Magic Spoon's got them now, and they've got 13 grams of protein, but 0 added sugars, and they come in delicious flavors like dark chocolate almond, honey almond, and peanut butter. Get $5 off your next order at magicspoon.com/83weeks, or look for Magic Spoon on Amazon or in your nearest grocery store. That's magicspoon.com/83weeks for $5 off. And we're live here, and we've got some fun questions coming in. I'm seeing some comments come in. Shout out to you, IDK anymore. I do not suffocate Mrs. Flair, because she's not Mrs. Flair. She's Mrs. Thompson. She's happy to be there. IDK, I'm sorry to tell you, I am not on the AEW payroll, but if the check is in the mail, I'd be delighted to get it. Now, I was on the WWE payroll, as you may remember. It's hard to believe, but 7 years ago this week is when we announced something else to wrestle with Bruce Pritchard. And now Bruce Pritchard is back in the confines of WWE. Who would have thought? Papa Wheatley says, please tell my idiot friends why the CM Punk Seth Roman match doesn't need a title to mean something. Well, I think that's all because, the story of Triple H, the story of Punk in the main event of WrestleMania, the story of betrayal, where Seth left the Shield to join the Authority over a decade ago. There's a lot of story under the what is it? Water under the bridge with these three guys. Jim wants to know, what match or matches are you guys looking forward to? We want to hear from you. Tell us in the comments what you're looking forward to the most. Personally, selfishly, I'm really anxious to see what happens with Tiffany and Charlotte. I would love to see Jacob Fatu get his hand raised, but the main event on both nights, that's really got me taking up some attention and thinking, hey, how do they go with this? What's next? Does it mean anything that John Cena is advertised after WrestleMania, but Cody is not? Or is that just a coincidence? I guess we'll have to wait and see. Darren Buss wants to know, what's your upset match for WrestleMania? That's interesting to think about. I think the upset might be Dominic Mysterio leaving with the Intercontinental title. I could be wrong, but that's what I think my upset would be. Appreciate Jared showing up and showing some love. Greatly appreciate you guys. We also have some other comments and questions here, but how about a super sticker? I've never even got one of those before. Thank you, Steve Combs, for that. Greatly appreciate that. AOTV Productions, he's always got questions about Russo. I wonder, AOTV, do you hate listen to Russo, or are you a Russo fan? Because he's saying, hey, Eric, if Russo met Nick Khan and said he needed to replace Triple H with him, how do you think Nick would react? Well, that doesn't even feel like something that would ever happen. So, but thanks for joining us here today, AOTV Productions. What we really want to know, though, is, Eric, this three-way dance on Saturday night, who do you got? Is it John? I mean, is it going to be Roman Reigns? Is it going to be CM Punk? Is it going to be Seth Rollins? What would you book?
I think it's going to be Punk. I think Punk is ascending. I think it's going to be Punk.
All right. Let's talk about night two. We got Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez taking on Bayley and Lyra. The women's tag titles are on the line. What do you expect in this one? Is Liv getting her hand raised again and maintaining that gold, or does Bayley walk out with some new hardware?
I just don't see it for Bayley. I want to, because I just like her as a person. Got to know her just a little bit, and I want it for her, but I just don't see it. I think it's Liv.
I think the big question mark here, does Bayley have a meltdown after the match? I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. I'm also curious what they do with AJ Styles.
She plays good crazy, though.
Great crazy.
Yeah.
AJ Styles and Logan Paul. Logan Paul has been a big match performer. I know he's worked closely with Hurricane Helms and some others. I know that this match is going to deliver some viral moments. But when it's all said and done, does AJ pick up the win, or does it make more sense to have Logan win, in your opinion, Eric?
Business-wise, it makes more sense for Logan. It just does. And I don't have any joy in saying that. And I hope I'm wrong, actually. But if you just look at where AJ is in his career trajectory at this point, where Logan is, what Logan brings to the table, what AJ brings to the table, I think it's just, it's just valuation. It's no different than real estate. You just, where do you get the biggest bang for your buck? And I think you have to look at Logan as the future, and AJ is, on his way out.
Four-way for the Intercontinental title: Braun Breaker, Penta, Finn Balor, and Dominic Mysterio. Penta is the bright new shiny object. Braun Breaker has been on a tear. We all know he's going to be in the main event of WrestleMania eventually. Dominic Mysterio has turned even his biggest critics into his biggest fans. And Finn Balor is like a modern day Dolph Ziggler in that he might actually be so good it's detrimental to his career. I don't even know how that's possible, but a who's who in this four-way. If you were booking it, Eric, who goes over?
Braun, not even a discussion. Braun, and I'll be shocked if that's not where it goes. Everybody else can make sense. There's a reason why you could argue it, but if you look at where Braun Breaker is in his career, and you just kind of look at the pace and the trajectory of his push, it's picking up steam. It's been picking up steam in terms of the last 90 days leading up to this moment, this weekend, which suggests to me that's why this match is even taking place. It's all designed for Braun to take the next step in his journey.
Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre are going to hook up in what's being called a Sin City street fight. What's your picker saying here? Is it Priest time or McIntyre's time?
Feeling Priest. No reason, just vibe and energy. Feeling Priest.
The three-way dance for the ladies that CM Punk said he would close the show with, like he didn't say which night, which means night 2. He thinks it's more interesting than Cody and CENA. It's Io Sky, Bianca Belair, and Rhea Ripley. What would you do here, Eric?
I'm going with Rhea all day long. She is such a star. She is such a unique, and it's not just her look. I mean, she's got obviously a very unique look. She's a beautiful woman, but she's got that goth edge to her. But there's something else about her, and I don't know what it is. I can't describe it to you, but there's an energy, a swagger, kind of swagger, but different. Super confident. Just the level of confidence that she exudes is tangible to me. So yeah, I think it's Rhea's time. Not that she hasn't had the limelight, but keep using that term ascending star, but it's not like somebody that's reached the level and it's not going to go beyond that anymore. She's reached a really high level and she's not where it can possibly go yet. You're seeing more and more of her. You're seeing more of her character. She's probably learning as she's going and discovering parts of her in terms of how to present it in the ring and have fun doing it. Yep. Rhea. Can you tell I'm a Rhea fan?
Yeah, it's coming through loud and clear.
I'm sorry. I try to keep that shit to myself.
Lock in your answer here. John Cena, Cody Rhodes, who walks out the champ?
John Cena.
I kind of agree. Travis Medway says, hey, Eric, in retrospect, what is your gut feeling about how the proposed Nitro relaunch being based in Vegas would have gone? Were you basing projections around the constant stream of tourists? Of course, this comes up because you really helped put Las Vegas back on the map for professional wrestling. I know that some people are going to say, yeah, but WrestleMania 9. I'm not arguing that. But you did a Nitro from there, and certainly Halloween Havoc, that became like the home away from home. It was a big deal for you to get that MGM Grand partnership. It gave it a big fight feel. I loved it as a fan. And I know you were high on perhaps making a residency of sorts for a relaunch of your vision for what WCW would have been had the acquisition gone through. Being out there this weekend, are you sort of brought back to those times? And do you maybe have a few cocktails and your mind wander to, hey, what if?
Not so much, over cocktails, and reminiscing necessarily, but I do believe that it was a good strategy. I think, I don't like saying stuff like this, but I think I was ahead of my time. I saw something here for WCW that had things gone according to the plan. I think it would have given us a really, really great advantage in so many different ways to base our operations here and have a full-time presence here. It would have helped with acquiring talent. It would have helped with transportation. It would help with costs. Having your training facility here, your production facility here, and being based out of here has so many downstream financial benefits, as well as tactical benefits in terms of being able to train under one roof and have a venue where you could run every night of the week if you wanted to as part of your training environment, somewhere close to town. So many ways that you could have made that work that I think about it like that from time to time. I drove by a studio here called Area 15. Big, huge production facility there. And it's kind of like a big, huge production facility for smaller events, promotions, film projects where people could come in and it's almost like timeshare it, from my understanding. So, yeah, it would have been a great idea then. And it may have taken a while to really play itself out and prove out its potential, but it would have for sure.
Eric, since you and I have been live, Pat McAfee's been broadcasting, and he's basically hinted very strongly to where it feels like it's definitely going to happen based on what I'm reading here, that the president of the United States of America is going to be at WrestleMania. And what my friends have called the chili pepper necklace, the Ulafala, I think is the way you say it. He was awarded that yesterday in the Oval Office. This feels like a simulation, Eric. The idea that the president is going to WrestleMania, that wouldn't have made sense a few years ago, but it's happening. We're not talking politics on the show, but that's a first, isn't it? I can't remember a time when the president was at WrestleMania before.
Well, we know the story of the relationship with the Trumps, or at least Donald Trump and the McMahons. It goes back a long ways. I think it's great. Donald Trump is obviously, embracing middle America and the people that love middle America things like wrestling and UFC, and as well as golf and the other end of the cultural spectrum. So it's cool to see. It brings people together. People will get excited. It's fun.
It is fun. And speaking of fun, so is the new Eric Bischoff action figure. Eric,
What?
I'm not sure that you got a chance to see this, but how cool.
What?
What do you think of the new Eric Bischoff action figure here with that WCW? I think you called it the cat's ass logo. This is fun. I like this version of the.
Why is my head at my feet?
Well, that's the second head. I mean, listen, everybody loves a little extra head, and that's why we got to tell you about Blue Chew. Blue Chew Max has arrived, and it combines the active ingredients of Viagra and Cialis into one chewable. This is a combo that acts fast and lasts. Think of it like it's a hot tag for your wiener. Guys, be ready when she needs it and get your first month of Blue Chew free. Great Sex is just a few clicks away. You can sign up at bluechew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you get your prescription in a few days. All these Blue Chew tablets are made right here in the USA. They're also prepared and shipped directly to your door. And the best part is it's all done online. That means no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversation, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Make your life easier by getting harder and discover your options at bluechew.com. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try your first month of Blue Chew free when you use the promo code 83weeks. Just pay $5 shipping. That's promo code 83weeks. Visit bluechew.com for more details and important safety information. And we want to thank Blue Chew for sponsoring today's product. Hey, man, Blue Chew, it's the real deal. And
that read was, you set me up.
Well, I didn't mean to.
Yeah, but I mean,
it just happened.
People are going to be listening to this and go, oh, they rehearsed that whole bit.
No, it didn't.
I had no idea. You played me like a fiddle, and it was fun.
Hey, tonight is the WWE Hall of Fame, and I know that's the real reason you're out there. Your great close personal friend, Lex Luger, is finally taking his rightful place in the WWE Hall of Fame. He's going to be inducted by Diamond Dallas Page. We've talked about this induction a long time. I mean, this is one that's way overdue and one that motivated you to leave your homestead, and that's not something that's easy to get you to do. The rest of the class looks like Michelle McCool, She's going to be going in and inducted by her husband, The Undertaker. Then we'll see Triple H, who I presume is the main event. I think he'll be inducted by Shawn Michaels. The natural disasters are going in. That's the former Earthquake. In real life, he was John Tenta. And of course, Typhoon in the WWE, but the Shockmaster over on the WCW side of things, Fred Ottman, he's going in the Hall of Fame. They're having the first ever immortal moment. That'll be the match between Bret Hart and Steve Austin at WrestleMania 13. And I think CM Punk is going to introduce them. But I wanted to bring up to you the Legacy Wing. These are names that are going in posthumously. Dory Funk Sr., of course, the father of Terry Funk, and of course, Dory Funk Jr. Ivan Koloff, the man who put a stop to Bruno Sammartino, and a hush fell over the crowd after that incredible run he had at Madison Square Garden. And Kamala, he worked with on the WCW side of things, and certainly he drew money as a big opponent for Hulk Hogan. I think Jeff's dad, Jerry, actually created the gimmick. What a class this is this year. I know that you're always really high on the Hall of Fame, and you've even told me privately, hey, man, I'll watch WrestleMania at home, but I want to be there for the Hall of Fame. It's your favorite part of the weekend. What are you looking forward to most tonight?
Obviously, I want to share the experience that Lex is going to have. I want to be in the room and share that with everybody because we're all going to feel that. Everybody in that room is going to feel that emotion firsthand, and I wouldn't miss an opportunity to be one of them. I think people watching at home are going to feel it, and not just with Lex, with all of the inductees, because they each have their story, and those stories, when they're communicated to us, it's the most real thing ever in wrestling or out of wrestling. It's real. Those emotions are real, and the stories are fascinating, and sometimes they're really funny, and sometimes they'll make you cry, but they're good. They're good stories from good people, and I wouldn't miss it. It is my favorite part. It's the most meaningful part for me.
Well, it meant a lot to us that you guys showed up to us, sort of previewing WrestleMania. It's going to be a big weekend. As a reminder, every independent show in the world is happening in Las Vegas this weekend. You can see a who's who at WrestleCon. Of course, WrestleMania or WWE World is blowing up and selling more merch than ever before. Tonight is SmackDown and then the Hall of Fame. Then we get another fabulous WrestleMania Night 1. And then a WrestleMania Night 2, and then the roast of WrestleMania. This thing used to be a day, then it became a weekend, and now it's a week. In a few years, Eric, will we start saying this is WrestleMania month? What's in store? I mean, where do we go from here?
No, they'll say WrestleMania season, and they'll actually mean it because it'll replace like spring. Spring will be gone. Wrestling will go, winter WrestleMania, summer, fall. That's what it'll be.
Well, let's do it, boys and girls. Make plans to join us right after WrestleMania Night 2. When it's all said and done and the final curtain falls, Eric will have had his power nap, and we will be live taking your questions and sharing our opinions about WrestleMania, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Join us this Sunday night, late night, and when the final curtain falls on WrestleMania, come see us at 83weeks.com. Eric, did we get it all in? Are you pumped? Are you ready to get footloose and fancy free on the strip tonight?
Yeah, I think Mrs. B and I are going to spend a little time back in a hotel room and then maybe grab a bite to eat and then head over to Hall of Fame. So the rest of the day should be really fun.
Have fun, boys and girls. Enjoy WrestleMania, and we'll see you Sunday night right here on 83 Weeks with Eric Bischoff.